Scott Laborde, and welcome to Happy New Year. Welcome to Steppin Out, spotlighting the New Orleans area's arts and entertainment scene. Seated at our table tonight, Poppy Tooker, host of the WWNO radio program Louisiana Eats, and back from Cuba, which we'll hear more about in coming weeks. Hello, wow. Kathryn Hobgood, producer and host of Confetti Park. It's a children's workshop and podcast and weekly radio show on WHIV Radio 102.3 FM. Hello, welcome.
Thanks
She's
so
making
much.
her
Glad
debut.
to be here.
Hello. He's back. Fred Kasten, producer and host of Jazz New Orleans on WWNO Radio Friday nights, here to talk about the Danny Barker Banjo and Guitar Festival opening next week. And of course, Steppin Out theater critic Alan Smason, who is also the editor of the Crescent City Jewish News. And on our set tonight, we are clearly in the carnival mode.
Yes.
And we want to thank Nan Dupuis and Michelle Minyard of RDS Concepts, and we are also featuring the work of 3 local artists with their flowers, which we'll tell you about a little bit later during our Artist Spotlight. But first up, Poppy, you have a guest.
I have a special guest. Now, he's not going to sing. He's going to mix us a cocktail. And this is Max Messler. He has a business called Cocktail and Sons, and he makes these amazing flavored syrups. And Max, what are you doing over there?
Well, Poppy, I'm making a Carnival punch with our king cake syrup from Cocktail and Sons.
A Carnival punch?
Yes. So essentially, it's a little bit of rum, some lemon juice, and our king cake syrup. We actually have a recipe on the bottle for the syrup. So you basically mix it up for your parade. And the syrup is made with cassia bark, pecan extract, lemon, and it tastes just like a king cake syrup.
Okay, well, you get to work on those cocktails, and we'll be waiting for you to serve them in a minute. And in the meantime, I have some really incredible restaurant scoop. You know, I just love Stephen and Pauline Patterson, who of course have Finn McCool's, and then they also have the more upscale Treo on Tulane Avenue. And for a long time now, my dear friend Michael Galata has been doing all the food at Finn McCool's. That's been a great success. And so now they've teamed up, and as a matter of fact, tonight is the opening night, and there is Chef Michael in the kitchen there at Treo.
He's usually at Mofo.
He's
right?
usually
He's still got that too.
Oh yeah, he's got Mofo. He's got it all going on. And you see, Michael and Jeff, his brother Galata's grandmother, was Gaetana Giacona, who was Sicilian. So he grew up eating Sicilian New Orleans style food, but then he was very fascinated with this concept. He went on to study in Italy, and he studied Sicilian food. He also did some time in Liguria, and so this is the focus of his new menu at Treo. This is really a big change at Treo. It's amazing, light Sicilian food. Now, I don't know if you know about Grayson Gill, who has Bellegarde Bakery, but he's got an antique grain mill that he uses to mill different kinds of grains, and he's doing this specially for Michael. He's making, for instance, buckwheat grain that Michael is doing extruded pasta with, and it's a buckwheat gemelli. Now, here's what really impresses me. So there's the gemelli. So he's got a pot, and he's got these specially grained pastas, and they're filled with lots of extra starchiness that comes out when you cook them quickly in the water. That's the whole secret. So he gets a little yumminess going in a frying pan. He's got the pasta cooking, and then when it's ready to serve it, he takes a little bit of that pasta cooking liquid, he puts it into the saute pan, he adds the other ingredients in the pasta, and he does this whole chef flipping thing, and what happens is, because of the pasta cooking water, he ends up with something that is creamy and delicious, but there's no butter and there's no cream. So it's very light food. There's an emphasis on seafood. All the plates are big and generous to be shared. And to give you an idea, that buckwheat gemelli pasta is served with gorgonzola dolce and grilled duck liver. Oh my goodness. And all I can tell you is that I was the first one to eat that. I even beat the Pattersons at it.
Look
Michael,
at that.
that is hand-rolled couscous. I don't know anybody doing hand-rolled couscous. And that goes with the garum and citrus rubbed lamb shoulder with a sauce that includes Sergnola olive, roasted garlic, and sweet potatoes in a marinade. There's Michael with the very first dish he ever plated. So the bar manager, who's been there for a while, Tyler Chauvin, look at how yummy it is doing Italian and Sicilian wine-centric pairings, and that includes both red and white choices for each of the dishes. Upstairs, there's the art gallery, and you can reserve it for private events. Of course, the food will be served outdoors, indoors. But what's really cool is there's no private dining room at MoFo, so you can even have a MoFo event upstairs in the art gallery at Treo, or you can have your Italian delicious event there too.
Poppy, let me reiterate, Tulane and South Scott. Tulane and South Scott, so it's actually pretty close to Carrollton.
Very, very close to Carrollton. So anyway, let's see if Max has a cocktail ready for us yet. Oh, Max.
You ready, Max?
I'm ready, Poppy. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. So we have the Carnival Punch. We'll bring right over to you guys.
Okay, sounds good.
So Max makes all of these various syrups, but what is remarkable and really caught my eye, aside from how adorable, but the king cake baby, he's really got the flavor of a king cake in here.
Thank you, Poppy.
All right.
How'd you do that, Max?
Well, my wife, who's from here, she actually challenged me to make a king cake syrup, and I tried something very complex and very crazy. And she sent it back, and then she told me to try another one. And I recalled how much I love that yeasty, ready finish. And it's a real challenge with a syrup that's sugar-based. So we do a little bit of a citric acid and a fermented soy stabilizer.
It works like
it works, and it's amazing.
Everybody can find you tomorrow morning at the Crescent City Farmers Market and in stores all over town.
Yep, and we'll be at the Covington Market as well.
Okay.
Over in Covington, Aquista Pace, Pearl Wine, Rouse's Market.
Way to
Martin
go,
Wine.
Max.
Thank you so much, Poppy.
Here's to you.
Cheers, thank you.
And at this point, I'd also like to say cheers to our darling Leah Chase, who on the 6th celebrated her 93rd birthday. And it's going to be a very special year at the restaurant this year because it's the Dookie Chase 75th anniversary. So here's to Dookie Chase, here's to Mrs. Chase, and happy Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
Wow,
Isn't that delicious?
This is delicious. Thank you very much. And now we move on to some other really fun things because you have Confetti Park, which is a very sweet pocket park in Algiers Point, and the children's chorus named after
That's
it,
right, the
Kathryn.
Confetti Park Players. A lot of fun. Not just kids from Algiers Point, I should say. They're from, some come up from as far as Metairie.
Okay.
For our practices every Wednesday.
Well, great. And you're going to be having a parade, which we'll talk about later. But how did this come together?
Okay, so this is our very first CD. So the children's chorus, like I said, it's an all-ages kids choir that gets together once a week. But what I really like to do is collaborate with grown-ups and give the kids the opportunity to play with some of the amazing musicians we have in New Orleans. And so, you know, this is a labor of love, and it's got a huge cast list.
Yeah, tell us about some of the musicians we can look forward to hearing.
Goodness gracious, I'm so honored that so many people in New Orleans played on this. Johnny Vodakovich, the great drummer's on here. Evan Christopher, a clarinet player. We've got 2 guitar players who are the backbone of the project, Tim Robertson and David Rosser. Dr. Sick, an amazing fiddle player, and he also plays the musical saw, which is like a Home Depot variety saw that he plays with a bow. Beth Patterson, Sarah Quintana, it just goes on and on. Roger Lewis from the Dirty Dozen, so we've got a lot of great people.
Great. And I'm delighted that we actually have a clip. We want to see this. Here are the Confetti Park Players performing with beloved local pianist A.J. Loria with the anthem of Carnival, If Ever I Cease to Love.
Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. In a house, in a square, in a quadrant, in a street, in a lane, in a road. Turn to the left on the right hand. See, there is my true love's abode. I go there a-courting and cooing to my love like a dove, and swearing on my high bended knee, if ever I cease to love. If sheep heads grow on apple trees, if ever I cease to love. She can sing, she can play on the piano, she can jump, she can dance,
She can run.
she is wonderful girlie. She's all of them rolled into one. I adore her beauty,
Like an angel dropped from above.
Yes, ma'am. May the fish get legs and the cows lay eggs.
If ever I cease to love,
May
all dogs wag their tails in front. If ever I cease to love,
if ever I cease,
to love,
if ever
I cease to love,
may we all turn into cats and dogs. If ever I cease to love.
The cuteness quotient on that is very high, Kathryn.
Yeah.
And you tell us that you got the parade coming up again.
That's right, the parade, the Confetti Kids, the Crew of Confetti Kids parade is sponsored by the Algiers Point Association. It'll be January 16th at 3 p.m. We roll at 3 p.m. down Verrett Street in Algiers Point.
And so if folks want to like to join the crew
yes.
and learn more about joining the chorus for their children, they can go to their
Absolutely.
website too.
ConfettiPark.com.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And now New Orleans Magazine's quiz queen, Julia Street, has a question for us. Last time, Sharon Burns named the nationally known pop star and the New Orleans-based rhythm and blues singer, both originally from Tangipahoa Parish, Britney Spears and Irma Thomas. Now tonight's question. In honor of the anniversary of the Battle of New Orleans, who was the commander of the British forces in New Orleans, and where was the treaty that ended the war signed? Email your answers to steppinout@wyes.org. Our prize is a year's subscription to Louisiana Life magazine. And we have a T-shirt as worn by Steve Golimbeski on our staff with the message, throw, THREAUX, 3-something, Mr. from our friends at wearablevegetables.com. You can also visit WYES.org for our online calendar to see our lineup of events, and you can link to our WYES YouTube channel to visit our program and see our program on our homepage. And now, Fred, let's celebrate Danny Barker, who we miss so much.
I miss that guy, and a lot of people do as well. I was lucky enough to get a couple of long interviews with Danny in the early 90s.
Longtime banjo and guitarist for our new New Orleanians, and let them know that.
Yeah, he's a member of the Barberin family. His uncle Paul Barberin, for example, composed a couple of our most famous tunes, the Bourbon Street Parade and Paul Barberin's Second Line. And he's the guy actually that sent Danny to New York. Danny grew up in the 7th Ward, started playing ukulele, then banjo, guitar when he moved to New York in 1930. And there he played with all kind of great people. He played with the Benny Carter Big Band, Cab Calloway Big Band, recorded with Billie Holiday. He recorded with Charlie Parker. He had a terrific career there for 35 years in New York. But then he and his wife, Lulu Barker, came back to New Orleans. And that second act is really what we sort of celebrate most of in the Danny Barker Festival. Since he passed in '94, a lot of people have talked about we should have a festival. Finally, last year, Detroit Brooks, the wonderful guitarist and banjoist who was heavily influenced by Danny, pulled a group of folks together, started the festival. This year it continues, and it bids to be a lot of fun. In New York, when Danny first moved there, he started getting work at the Savoy Ballroom as a fill-in guy, and then he got a call from Jelly Roll Morton, and we have a little bit of that conversation that Danny and I had about how Jelly Roll put him to work.
Let's take a listen.
He called me hometown. He said, hometown? He said, I got some work. He said, you just got here, but I need some musicians. They ain't gonna play my music. I just want you to find me 5 cockroaches. That's what he called musicians. Get me 5 cockroaches and have them here. I need a drummer, saxophone player, or clarinet, a trombone, and you. But don't worry about how these people up here play, because they don't know nothing about jazz. They don't have the feeling for jazz. They're in a hurry. They're playing that Chick Webb music for the Lindy Hoppers. It's more than that to jazz. I said, yes. And Mr. Jelly said, it's Carmen Jelly, hometown. We like relatives. You understand? These people never had a real decent meal in their life. They never sat down, ate a plate of gumbo and roast rabbit. They don't know nothing about it.
We so miss him, and we're talking about not only, of course, a great musician, but also a teacher and quite the raconteur.
Quite the raconteur. Just an example there, just the sort of really smart, funny, engaging, wily, and a mischievous guy you love to hang out with because he's got a great take on everything. He's really a wise and interesting man who helped resurrect brass band music for young New Orleans musicians in the 70s with the Fairview Baptist Church Band.
I know you've got a lot of events coming up. We're going to be showing those as we continue our conversation. But the other thing we should point out is this is the month of his birthday. His birthday is in January.
On January 13th, he was born in 1909, so this would be the 107th anniversary of his birth.
And it's something special the next day.
At Snug Harbor, we kick off the festival next Thursday, and a couple of the folks who were in that Fairview band that helped get things started will be on that, including Greg Stafford, Shannon Powell, Lucien Barberin. That'll be a really nice night of music at Snug. And then on Friday at the Palm Court Jazz Cafe, we'll have a combination of talk about Mr. Barker and great music once again with Lucien Barberin, Greg Stafford, Leroy Jones, who was actually the leader of that Fairview band and helped get that started. And we'll also have a couple of community leaders, Chris Sylvain, who's a pharmacist and a healthy eating advocate, and community activist Fred Johnson. They'll talk about how Mr. Barker had a profound influence on people outside of music as well as the many great musicians who came through the Fairview Band or his own bands, the Jazz Hounds, and have gone on to prominence around the world. The Marcellus Brothers, Herlin Riley, on the list goes of people he profoundly affected. Then it'll wrap up with a place that you may well have seen on HBO's Treme, Bullett's Sports Bar. It was featured often in Treme, with a great afternoon Sunday on the 17th of music from 2 till 7, featuring bands led by Greg Stafford, Lucien Barberin, Steve Pistorius, Leroy Jones, and Kermit Ruffins, and a modest $10 admission for that great afternoon of music. On the 22nd, I should also mention a special event with the great Maria Muldaur, who had a big hit with Don't You Feel My Leg.
That's right.
She'll come back to do a benefit for next year's festival. That's at the Palm Court Cafe on January 22nd, 8 o'clock, with an all-star New Orleans band, plus Topsy Chapman and Solid Harmony and Detroit Brooks.
And once again, that website for more detail.
The website is DannyBarkerFestival.com. It's full of great information.
Okay, thank you so much. We miss him. He was also the head of the Jazz Museum for a while, too. He shared his gifts.
He was a multifaceted person, a writer, raconteur, musician, community activist, someone who really strongly urged the preservation, continuance, and extension of New Orleans culture. He was a real advocate for New Orleans culture and did a great job.
Thank you, Fred. It's great to have you back with us, too.
Thank you.
And now it is time for our weekly Artist Spotlight. Tonight we are featuring paper flowers similar to the ones that you would see in some Mardi Gras parades. And that one is so beautiful. But we're actually focusing on the work of 3 artists, but these are by Carolyn Thomas. And that is a camellia. Look at that. That is a peppermint stick colored camellia there. We also have, let's see, we've got the azalea. We'll show that with the 2 smaller flowers. These are Caroline's. Around our set tonight, we've got works also by Brian Bush and Dana Bueller, and they have all been in the carnival industry for many years. Specifically, Caroline's been in the biz since 2008. She's worked for Proteus, Coup d'etat, and Chaos, and also illustrates the Proteus Ball invitation and parades. It really, the artistry, it just pervades it all, and we're so glad. These artists call themselves the Carnival Collective, and their work is on view at Miette. This is a really sweet store on Magazine Street near Juan's Flying Burrito. The mission of the group is to urge everyone to enjoy the artistry that goes into many parades. Visit iHeart Miette to see other locally themed items. And now, Alan.
So how do you do a spoof of Disney knowing that a fleet of attorneys will sue you within an inch of your life over their intellectual properties? Well, you need to call in Varley Jean Merman, Ricky Graham, and Sean Patterson as the rescuers Tours. If you can't spell Tchoupitoulas, for example, there's a simple song, Tchoupitoulas. You may recognize that tune as having been sung somewhere before in a super fashion. But this is not your children's ditzy land. This is a very adult land of double entendres and risque language. And it's going to bring back memories of your childhood that you've never had before. The Magic Kingdom they explore includes a setup of Peter Pan, but the one we remember from TV, certainly not the one that you might expect that was animated by the Disney studios. It's hilarious, but bad news, it's sold out this weekend. Tickets for the Ricky Graham directed show also feature Jefferson Turner on piano and background vocals. They're really still going fast. They'll be available for the final weekend next week, so keep that in mind. That's at Cafe Istanbul, 2372 St. Claude Avenue.
Do you think they'll extend it? We don't know.
You know, Varl is in here for only a little bit of time, but
that's true.
I'm not sure. You know,
Yeah,
we'll see.
let's hope.
You know, maybe it'll come back again. You never know. Now, quirky may not have been invented by Sarah Rule, but she certainly has developed a reputation as being a clever and quirky playwright. Now, those of you who may remember, she was responsible for Clean House, the Dead Man's Cell Phone, and also the In the Next Room, the Vibrator play, if you remember those. Well, she's now got one that was one of her earlier works. It's called Late, A Cowboy Song. And this work stars three players, Rebecca Elizabeth Hollingsworth as Mary, Philip Kramer as her longtime love interest, Crick, and newcomer Sam, that's short for Samantha, Malt Maker. She is a woman who acts more like a cowboy than a cowgirl. It's directed by Jen Davis, and this play has a number of pithy moments as Mary moves from a relationship with her boyfriend, later on husband, and they have original songs that are featured by Glenn Oakwen. Her discovery of what she really wants out of life is at the core of this play. She finds herself late and expecting, and it's in the second act that she really determines maybe it isn't all that late for her after all. The work loses a little bit of its tension in the second act as her character undergoes some unraveling through a succession of holidays, but it does come together at the end, and I would suggest that it does come together at the end before it is for her character too late. So Late, A Cowboy Song is on at the old Marquee. That's the old, we remember it, of course, at St. Claude and St. Roch Avenue, what we used to call the Shadow Box Theater, but now it's the old Marquee. And again, 2400 St. Claude Avenue. Hopefully you'll get a chance to go over and check it out. Very interesting little work there. Meanwhile, the season announcement is going to be held tomorrow night for the Rivertown Theaters for the Performing Arts, and that'll be revealed, everything they're going to do. I don't know whether or not it's all going to be musicals as it was this year, but we suspect they're going to have a wonderful night of celebration as well as some particular moments of hilarity on stage. They're especially excited, though, because Asai Coleman, his show, Sweet Charity, is going to be starring standout Shelby Mack, and that's starting next week. So next Friday is the opening night for that. Songs like Big Spender, If My Friends Could See Me Now, I'm a Brass Band, I'm the Bravest Individual, and of course it featured original choreography with Bob Fosse. The show should be nothing less than fantastic. Shelby Mack, of course, was also featured in the World War II Museum's stage door production of the Andrews Sisters tribute. She's a great, great talent, and those of you who get a chance to see that, it'll be at Rivertown Theaters Performing Arts starting next week and running through the 31st of January. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, in the French Quarter, Le Petit artistic director Maxwell Williams and his co-director and writer Jonathan Green are ready to bring life to a version of Sleeping Beauty that will feature previous Big Easy Award winner Bob Eads Jr. in the role of, yes, Sleeping Beauty. He will be presenting it in a cross-dressing fashion. He'll be joined with other comic stars like Keith Clavery. I'll have a review for you next week on this work, but again, it opens again next week as well. Sleeping Beauty at Le Petit Theater, and it runs through the 15th and the 24th. There's a bifurcated show because then they're going to come back after Mardi Gras.
I have to inject the personal.
Yes, go ahead.
I was in the Louis Barroso version of Sleeping Beauty. Okay, I wasn't Sleeping Beauty, but that's okay. At Le Petit, many moons ago. Go ahead.
This is a brand new work by Jonathan Green.
Yeah, I'm
so,
sure.
Yeah, it is going to be a lot different.
Freddie Palmisano. This is Freddie Palmisano. Okay.
Enough said. Since our last show, I was, however, able to sneak away for what have been may have been the most transformative work I have ever been privileged to see as a theater critic. That, of course, is dun 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 dun. Hamilton. The pun intended revolutionary work on stage at the Richard Rodgers Theater in New York. Of course, Lin-Manuel Miranda, who you can see there on the far right, is heavily favored to win a cart full of Tony Awards, along with other cast members who portray Washington and Jefferson and Madison, as well as Aaron Burr. There's also a chance for the women to shine. You can see them snap right there, as well as they get into this incredible hip-hop, soul, Latin, and rap-fused work that's infused with an array of incredibly impressive songs. What sets Hamilton apart, though, is the reinvention of historical figures that breathe life into them and makes them really accessible to everyone. The key word here is diversity. Philippa Sue, who you can see there, plays the female lead as Eliza Hamilton. She has come from an Asian heritage. It's not just an African-American heritage there. The biggest scene stealer, though, is Jonathan Groff. He plays King George III to absolute perfection as his humor pours out through his royal pores. He's only on stage for 9 minutes total, but he steals the show. Meanwhile, I have to tell you, Andrew Lloyd Webber has returned to Broadway in a meaningful fashion. He's returned to the scene of his earlier triumph, Cats, at the Winter Garden Theater with his School of Rock, the musical. I have to tell you that not only is this the best musical score from Lloyd Webber, but he has Alex Brightman, a cast of extremely talented youngsters, all playing live instruments on stage, and he has a new kid on the block, Brandon Tasnida-Rauer, who's been here in New Orleans and played with Dr. John, played with the Allman Brothers. He is fantastic. I recommend it very highly, and the real key to this is that he has actually been on stage because he was impressed about what he saw in the movie with Jack Black.
And the Ball and All is back.
The Ball and All is definitely back. Absolutely. I mean, on the stage, but you can't get tickets for it this weekend. It is sold out.
Okay,
so we'll talk about that. It'll be
okay,
available again in February.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. Now it's time for our picks of the week. Poppy.
Lisa White's famous King of King Cakes is now available at Willa Jean's. Order online. That was the one previously at Dominica. You can still get slices at Dominica and Willa Jean's. It's delicious.
Kathryn.
The Confetti Park radio show, Saturdays at 12:30 p.m. on WHIV 102.3 FM.
All right, great. Fred.
Lots more with Danny Barker on Jazz New Orleans tonight at WWNO at 8 o'clock.
All right.
Can we just mention that the life and music of Stephen Hammond will be featured with George Dansker, who does a lecture series at Touro Synagogue at 4238 St. Charles Avenue. It's at 7 p.m. next Friday. It's free, open to the public.
That's a deal.
3 fantastic
Woo.
Singers, including a young lady from Lusher School.
Okay, and before we go to my picks, though, I wanted to share with you some 12th night photos. This one by Jules Richard IV. Here is this year's Funny 40 Fellows royalty, Queen Tracy Thompson and boss Jim Hobbs on 12th night. And then these images are by Judy Batoni. Here is Sandra Dartis, we love Sandra, as Queen Yolande of Aragon and the Joan of Arc parade that same night. Also the historic Carnival organization, the 12th Night Revelers, on their way to their ball. And now my picks. Artist Mac Ball opens his new exhibit at Cole Pratt Gallery this week. This is Grain Elevator on the Mississippi. Originally from Charleston, South Carolina, Ball finds inspiration in the landscape and waterways of southern Louisiana. And then we also have Saline Woods. The reception is tomorrow from 5:30 to 8. The show runs through February 27th. Visit the website for more information on that. And the crew of Orpheus and WYES invite you to a viewing of the Super Cruise floats in their den. This is an exclusive tour, and this is on Saturday, January the 23rd. Limited amount of folks can come. Go to WYES.org and the number on your screen. And thank you all so very much. It also includes a tour and refreshments. Thank you all. It's great to have you, and we're saying Happy Mardi Gras on our Mardi Gras mode. Good night.
Happy Mardi Gras.
Good night.